Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Zevachim Tzadik Gimel. We are holding right on top. Boimine Rami Bar Chama. He had a question. Mirav Chisda. This connects back to the halacha that we learned yesterday. The dam of a carbon chatas that's splattered on a beged. Okay, so it splashed onto a garment. That garment now requires a process called kibus. It must be laundered in the Beis Hamikdash in accordance with the psukim, which say that a beged asher yiza oleha tichabes only b'makim kadosh at this location. Now, this halacha is limited, at least according to the opinion that we're going to be presenting right now. It's limited to dam of a chatas, which is still suitable for hakrava. It's still carbon material. It's still kosher blood. However, if the blood becomes puzzle and unsuitable for hakrava, it becomes deactivated. In which case, even if it drips on a beged, the kibus process does not apply. Okay, so that's the premise which the next Gemara is based on. Dam chatas, which is still active, which is still kosher, would require kibus, otherwise not. For instance, if the dam becomes tummy and then it lands on a beged, there's no halacha of kibus. Now comes an interesting question. Suppose it was fine until it hit the beged, and then it became, puzzle. How? How does the beged make it puzzle? Very simple. The beged itself was tummy. So the blood of the chatas dripped on a beged which is tummy. So as it was headed to the beged, it was still active, suitable carbon material. But once it made contact, upon the moment of contact, it simultaneously dirtied the beged, and it in itself, the blood in itself, became disqualified for further carbon use because it became tummy. So it was a simultaneous double occurrence. The question is, how do we treat this beged? Kibus or no kibus? Shall we consider it like a beged who received dam kosher because it was kosher until it landed, or no, since at the moment of contact it became tummy because of this beged, so it's deemed like dam pasal that landed on the beged, in which case there's no kibus. Interesting question. The blood of the chatas dripped on a beged which happens to be tummy. What happens now? Let me just make one observation. Based on this question, it's pretty clear to me, just for starters, that the question is based on that notion discussed earlier, that blood which is currently pasul would not require kibus, even though it was kosher until a certain point. It doesn't really, help it. The dam had a moment of okayness, and then it became pasul. Kibus is no longer applicable. That's a general, premise. Question is, does it apply in this case as well, or it happens simultaneously? Perhaps that only applies when it's sequential. So if the dam became tummy and then dripped on a beged, it's exempt from kibus. But it happened at the same exact moment, at the moment of contact with the beged loy. We don't treat it like disqualified blood that landed on the beged. No, it landed okay, then it became, and therefore kibus is applicable. Or you can say no difference between sequential, which disqualifies the blood, or simultaneous. Kibus will not apply. Amar Leisi says, you know what? Interesting question. Actually, I think it's a machlekes tanoim. This is a general question. Whether simultaneous is treated like sequential is a machlekes tanoim. Regarding a totally different topic, we're going to compare it and apply it to our case as well. Amarle plukta, it's a machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabban. Between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabban. Ali with the Rabba, based on the way Rabba presented the machlokes. Ukadim komentaris Abaye, and in accordance with the way Abaye clarified it coming up later. This Sanya, okay, let's go back. What's the machlokes? Rabbi Eliezer oime meichata shenitmu metarin. Here the meichatas doesn't mean, the carbon. It means the paraduma water, which is meant to be sprayed on a person who's tamei meis. It purifies him. What if the chatas water itself was tamei beforehand? Metarin. They are still effective. You can still use them and apply them to an adam tamei. How do I know this? Says Rabbi Eliezer. Very simple. Nowhere in the Torah do we find that you cannot spray the mechatas on a woman who's tamei meis, which requires the paraduma water, and also nida. Suppose she's also on nida. Can you use this water on her? Presumably yes. Despite the fact that the water becomes tamei upon contact. So it can address tumas meis, but she has an additional layer of tuma upon her. She's tamei nida. How can this water be effective? Because it pretty much becomes tamei when it touches her, because of the fact that she's a nida. How could it purify her from the tamei meis? Sharei nida mazen aleh. We find that you could be mazen on a nida, despite the water becoming tamei upon contact. So you see that tuma does not inhibit the water from acting, from purifying. Likewise, just as it works simultaneously, even if it's sequentially. Even if the water actually became tamei yesterday, you can use it today. It's not an impediment. It's not going to stop the water from being effective. V'amar Rabba. Now, how can you compare one case to the other? V'amar Rabba, Rabbi Eliezer b'shitas Rabbi Kiva Rabbi Amra. Because really, as Rashi explains, there's a problem here. By the nida, it happens simultaneously. Okay, surely that works. The water was still okay until it touched her, so it works. But based on that, you're going to stretch it and allow the use of water which became tamei prior to being used? Who says to compare the two? Who says it's a fair equation? Says Rabbi, let me explain to you where Rabbi Eliezer is coming from. Rabbi Eliezer b'shitas Rabbi Kiva Rabbi Amra. He's based on his Rebbe Rabbi Kiva, who says that really any mechatas which traveled over something that's tamei, entered the airspace, even the airspace of something that's tamei, is really unsuitable for further use. Okay, so if we can spray on Isha Nida and deem the water still active and effective despite the fact that it passed over her airspace and became tainted by it. Okay, apparently, even water that's tamei works. The Amar who says, his Rebbe says, Havoras kli al gabi makom tamei kimonach tamei. Rekiva holds that when you take the kli of the mechatas and bring it over a makom tamei, it's treated as though it landed on it. Airspace is just as tainted. That's not. So let's picture this. He's standing here and there's a wall nearby and there's an oven in between himself and the wall, face up, right? With an open cover, and inside of which there's a sheret, something which is tamei. V'sheretz b'taner, sheretz inside the taner. And he reaches over to the window, to the ledge there, across the airspace of the oven. V'natal salagin, reaches over to the login, to the pitcher, to the container, and takes the container of paraduma water, v'vir al pi taner, and bringing it over the opening of the taner. So it merely passed over an impure place. Rabbi Kiva matami, he says the water is not tamei, unsuitable for paraduma use. V'chachamim metarin, they're not concerned, it's okay. Ubal pligi, and presumably the machlokes is based on whether we treat airspace as though it's part of the surface below. The Rekiva Zevachim airspace is treated like the surface below. It says though it landed on the bottom. Rabbanan Sabra, they say no, lav kimun achtami, just because it went through the airspace, it didn't land, it's okay. Lav kimun achtami. Now, okay, so up until this point, Rashi says actually it's a ma'ala mechatas. Rabbi Akiva is going to apply this strictness, this chumrah to paraduma water. Even airspace over a tainted area is treated as tainted, environment, and it affects the mechatas. Okay, so based on this analogy, we could fully understand Rabbi Lezer's shita. Just like you can spray an ishanida, despite the water passing through the airspace, it's okay. Likewise, even water which became tummy outright can still be used. Now we're not done. Veis v'Abai. Now Abai had a kasha on this interpretation, that Rabbi Akiva is coming from this point of airspace is considered like the surface below. Veis v'Abai have a kasha. We find in a brisa that even Rabbi Akiva is not concerned about airspace. Moeder Rabbi Akiva ba'zo shavir al gav klei cheres. Right? Even Rabbi Akiva agrees if the water was passed over a kli cheres, that's tamei, or al gav mishkav moishav tamei, or a mattress, a chair that was tamei, that's okay. She'i tahira. The water still stays okay, despite passing through this the airspace above the tainted item, because these items do not affect their airspace. Only specific types of tumas spread upwards, like a mace, right? Like a nega, right? So there are very, very few items. Hardly any, seldom any items of tuma will extend upwards, like the bottom. So a mace has that power to spread all around, and other items that are likewise metamer their environment, including a stone from a nega home. So clearly, even Rabbi Akiva is not concerned about airspace above something that's tummy. How could you propose that as the reason for Rabbi Akiva's halacha? Let me explain to you further. No, the truth is, even Rabbi Akiva would not consider the airspace above like the space below, like the surface below, regarding general tumais. And over here, when he says that there's an issue with passing the pitcher above the tanner, machlokes is as follows: Rabbi Akiva savar gazrinan shema yaniach. Very straightforward problem. It's not the airspace. Chachamim were concerned that if you're passing it over, you might get tired and put it down on the tumah, and then certainly the water becomes possible. For Rabbanan are not concerned. Just make sure you pass it over safely. Okay, so it's not an issue of airspace definitions. Just a practical concern that you might actually put it down on the tumah. Now, even Rabbi Akiva, right? So that's the. Let's go back to explain the brayso that we just quoted. Moeder Rabbi Akiva v'hazor. Yeah, in terms of passing, we're concerned if you're manually passing it, you might put it down. Umoida, but still, Rabbi Akiva would agree. If he's engaged in spraying that water and it happens to fly over something that's tummy, that's okay because it's out of his hands. He's not putting it down anymore. This gzera is not applicable at this point. Once it left his finger, it's out. It's airborne, out of his control. He's not putting anything down on the right. Okay, so according to this new approach, right, we thought we had some sort of source, Rabbi Akiva, that Avir is like Munach, and that's sort of connected to the idea of Imazan the Nida to prove that Tamei water is okay, and then it connected back to Dam Chatas, right, that dripped over a beged, right, which was Tamei, shall we say simultaneous is like sequential, right? We thought we had a whole long chain arrangement here, which turns out to be not so simple according to Abaye's new understanding. Because even Rabbi Akiva doesn't seem to hold that airspace is an issue, so there goes the whole, the basis for our whole logical arrangement. Okay, so Rabbi Elazar Rabbanan Makim Miflegi. So back to the original question. Rabbi Elazar says, Mei chatas that became tamei are suitable for hazah. What's his raya? He proves it from the fact that you can spray an isha nida. Okay, so what's the machlekes about? Rabbi Elazar Rabbanan Makim Miflegi. What's the machlekes about? Rabbi Elazar says it's okay. Rabbanan say, yeah, you can spray on an isha nida, but not water that became tummy before you sprayed it. What's the machlekes about? Amar Abaye, exactly this. The point is, do we say, so we thought it was about airspace? No. It's about whether we compare sequential to simultaneous. Amar Abaye, bedanin tuma keduma. Mituma shabayis hashal kemiflegi. Do we compare a prior tumah to the tumah of that moment? Kemiflegi, that's the machlekes. So Rabbi Elazar says, just as you can be mazeh on an isha nida, despite the water becoming tummy upon contact, you can likewise spray water that became tummy before you sprayed it. Doesn't matter. Either way, it's okay. He compares one to the other. Just like it works when it becomes tummy upon touching the isha, it can work when it becomes tummy before touching the person. Mar savar adanin. Rabbi Elazar says you can compare one to the other. And likewise, back to the story of the dam chatas that landed on a beged tummy. Even though it only happened upon the moment of contact, is treated like it was puzzle beforehand, and it doesn't require kibbutz. Umar savar indan. Rabbanan say you can't compare sequential to simultaneous. Just because you could be mazah and isha nida, that's because the water was okay until it touched her. But certainly you cannot use water that became tummy before the act of spraying. And likewise, the dam chatas that landed on a beged, it was kosher until it landed on the beged. Too late. Now it's ton kibbutz. Okay, so basically we thought initially that it was a question of how to treat airspace, but we tweaked it a little bit. It's not that. Do we compare sequential to simultaneous? Rav has a different take. He says, all agree you can't compare sequential to simultaneous. Two different worlds. This is happening all together as one. This is happening separately, and it's disabled by the time it, regarding me'echatas that became tameh, where Rabbi Elazar says it's okay, Rabbanan say it's not. Machlekes is as follows: Rabbi Elazar sava azot tzricha shir, umitzarfen la'azois. Rabbi Elazar holds there's a certain amount of water that has to hit the person. Let's call it an ounce, okay? Now, not in all situations does the hazah end up being a proper amount. You have to sometimes combine. You can combine half ounce here and half ounce there. Right? You can total together the two amounts of both hazahs to get you the required amount. Okay, let's picture this. You have an isha nida. And presumably you could be mazah on isha nida, and suppose you did it in increments. Half ounce and a half ounce. Now, in this scenario, it's certainly happening, it's certainly happening sequentially. There isn't one hazah that's going to do the trick. You need one and another one to get you that combined total, that required total. Now, imagine the water that's sprayed the first time. Is that going to accomplish? No, it's not yet. It's pending. Pending the arrival of the second half an ounce. It's not water that's sitting on her now. It's just plain ineffective water, so to speak. It's hovering. It's in process. And she's tummy. So that water becomes tummy before it actually gets implemented. There you go. So you see that even mechatas, which is tummy before the actual implementation of the azah, can be used. So that's Rabbi Elazar's opinion. Rabbanan Sabri Hazor Ein Tzricha Shir. Rabbanan disagree totally. They say that even a droplet that lands on a person does the trick. So there's no shear requirement. There's no combining requirements, and therefore you haven't really proven anything. Yeah, you can spray on an Isha Nida because whatever lands on her becomes implemented immediately. So although she's tamei and in effect the water became tamei, but it happens simultaneously, and therefore it's not treated like water that's tamei being used for hazah, because during the hazah it was okay. Okay, so therefore, according to Rabbanan, just because you're allowed to be mazah on an Isha Nida doesn't mean you can take water that's tamei and use it for hazah. Okay, so in any case, let's just backtrack a second. We had a shaila, assuming dam chatas, which is tamei, that drips on a beged, does not require kibbutz. What if the chatas water, the dam chatas was okay until it landed on the beged? The beged disabled it. The beged was tamei. It happened simultaneously as it landed on the beged. Is kibbutz required or not? So he says, look, it's really connected to a different machlek, totally different topic regarding paraduma water, which according to Abaye's explanation, involves a machlokes between Rabbi Elazar, who says that you can compare a sequential to simultaneous. And according to him, you can use paraduma water that became tamei, just like you could be mazah on Isha Nida. And according to that approach, the dam chatas, the landed on the beged tamei, is treated like dam tamei because we consider it like dam tamei. The landed on the beged, even though it happened at the very same moment, the landing on the tomb is treated like it was tamei beforehand. So we compare sequential to simultaneous, and now there's no kibbutz here because the dam is considered dam pasal, whereas the Rabbanan don't compare the two. Simultaneous is one thing and sequential is something else. And therefore, by the paraduma water, they say you can be mazah on Isha Nida despite it becoming tamei as it lands. It doesn't mean you can use tamei water beforehand. Water that became tamei beforehand for the azah. And likewise, they do not equate when it comes to the dam chatas and not equate the dam that landed on the beged and became tamei through landing to dam chatas that became tamei beforehand. In this case, there's no kibbutz, but when it lands as kosher blood and became tamei as it lands, in that case, kibbutz is still required. Continues the Gemara, chatas psula. Okay, so again, the dam of a failed carbon will not require kibbutz. Tan Rabban, how do we know this? Mi dam. Mi is a limiting term. Midam ksher, only from a kosher carbon. V'lo midam psula. Rabbi Kiva Aimer. Oh, it depends. Depends whether the dam had a sha'asa kosher. Kiva Aimer haisel sha'asa kosher b'nipsula. If the carbon had a moment in time that it was potentially going to be a successful carbon, and then it became possible along the road, Dama still requires kibbutz, tone kibbutz. But it was possible from, right out the door. Lo yihoysel shasa koishev nifsala, ein dama tone kibbutz, no kibbutz. Shimon Aimer, no, either way, there's no kibbutz. Echad zeh v'echad zeh, either way, ein dama tone kibbutz, there's no kibbutz. Because it's the current status that we're concerned about. It's not suitable for akrava, there's no kibbutz. Mike Tamid Reb Shimon. Where's Reb Shimon coming from? That in both situations there's no kibbutz. Because we have two limiting terms in the Torah to exclude both. Ksiv Isa, Ksiv Midama. Isa is the limiting term, and Midama is another limitation, one per category. Chad, one limitation, Leicha, when it had potential to be good. And the other one is to exclude the totally failed carbon. No. Rabbi Kiva, what does he do with these two limitations? Rabbi Kiva, well, he says one is for a totally different topic. Oisa prat l'truma. The word oisa is coming to tell you that kibbutz is limited to the dam chatas and not to truma material, as we're going to see later on. But Rav Shimon Tameh, now Rav Shimon didn't need the oisa for that purpose, and therefore it was available to cut out the second category of dam puzzle, because the Amar, he said, Rav Shimon Tameh, the Amar kachim kalam ain't tun rikah shtifa, koshkin truma. Not only do kachim kal not require rikah shtifa, rinsing of the pots, certainly truma, so therefore there's no point in addressing truma in that regard. Rather, the word oisa relates to the dam chatas, dripped on a beged. We have two limitations, oisa and midama, to exclude both categories of psulim, whether or not it had potential. Continues the Mishnah. Again, the point is that only dam chatas, which had been received in a kli sharas, which is slated for the mizbeach, which is active dam material, that which lands on a beged requires kibbutz. But nitas menat savar ala beged, but sprayed straight from the neck of the animal on the garment, ein oton kibbutz. Kibbutz is not required. Minakerim ani soid, ein oton kibbutz likewise from the corner of the mizbeach or from the foundation. No kibbutz is required. And Rashi explains this to mean that even if it's on the way to the yisoid, meaning the applications were done and now we have only leftovers ready for the yisoid, and it lands on a beged, there's no kibbutz. Nishbach ala ritzvah v'asafa inton kibbutz. Okay, so if it spills right out of the neck onto the floor, even if you collect it, there's no kibbutz. Inton kibbutz, and the reason is because kibbutz is only required at adoption of skabel b'kli v'roi lazo, blood which was collected properly in a kli sharis, waiting for azo. Tanurabon. Yochel nitas ben atzavar la beged inton kibbutz, perhaps a spray off the neck on the garment requires kibbutz tamulei ma'ashar yizeh, which teaches us la yamarti l'cha ela b'roi lazo, only blood which is meant for hazo had been collected in a kli sharis, labeled as hazo material. Tani yidech, we have another brisa. Yochel nitas ben akeren yisoid yiton kibbutz. What about if it's sprayed off the mizbeach? Tamulei ma'ashar yizeh, prat lezeh shukar huza, as opposed to dam, which had already been applied and processed. Nishbach ala ritzpah, and he collected it, landed on a shirt, no kibbutz. Why does the Mishnah have to conclude further and say, well, kibbutz is only if it's in a kli? It sounds like it's a repetition of what you just said. Hasulamali, why the added conclusion? Matam kamar. Oh, the Mishnah is just explaining itself. It states a fact and then explains it. It starts by telling us that if matam nishbach ala ritzvah asafa inton kibbutz. So why, in fact, if it spilled off the neck on the floor, there's no kibbutz? The reason is the next point. Lefi, because she'ein ton kibbutz el adam she'neskava b'kli roi lazo. Kibbutz only applies properly collected blood ready for azo. Roi lazo. What's the added phrase roi lazo? If it's in the kli, it's roi lazo. Why does the Mishnah have to go and add that phrase as well? Apparently, we're referring to dam in a kli, and we have an added stipulation. But make sure it's roi lahazo. Isn't that all one and the same? No, limutimai. What are we coming to exclude? What are we coming to push out here? Limute kibul pachis mikadei hazo b'klizeh upachis mikadei hazo b'klizeh. Yeah, he collected it in a kli, but it was too little at a time. There's something called kadei hazo, sufficient blood to allow him to dip his finger in, and let's call it an ounce. Okay, so let's say he's makabel. He properly collects the blood in a kli, but it's less than an ounce, less than the required amount. It does the same as another kli, and then he combines them. Doesn't work. Roi lahazo. The initial collection, the initial quantity, has to be suitable for hazo. The Sanya is defined in a brisa regarding paraduma water. Okay, so we shift back over again, which has a similar requirement. When you are mekadesh that water and you put the ashes on the water, there has to be enough there to allow a hazo, right? Whatever that is, an ounce, whatever. As opposed to be mekadesh a half ounce, another half ounce at a time, then putting them together. It doesn't work. It has to be a complete unit, suitable for hazo. The Sanya b'chlafta bar shol eimer kidesh pachis. If he was mekadesh less than the ounce at a time, pachas b'chdei hazo b'klizeh in this kli, and the same in the other kli. Uboris b'chlei hazor b'chlei the other kli like kiddush. Even if you combine, it doesn't work. Yibailu. And the question was posed: what about in terms of being mekadesh blood of a korban in a kli, which we pretty much concluded a minute ago, but we're sort of going to process it for us step by step. By meichatos, we know it has to be done that way. What about dam of a korban? Rashi explained, talking about chatois apnimiyos, which need hazoya. Okay, so he does a half ounce at a time and mixes them together. Does it work? No. But dama hilchasahi, perhaps it's a halacha stated by the paraduma water, and you can't compare. We never learned from halacha mishmesina legamrina. You can't compare one to the other. On the other hand, it's based on the understanding of the psukim, which applies here as well. Why do we have that stipulation by the paraduma water? It's a pasach, ba, the known waters. You got to dip into those waters, indicating that this water, as we have it, was the original water. No mixing, no combining. Here is all by the Hazor of the dam chatas. It also has a similar expression. Ba dam. Perhaps that has the same requirement. Tashma, it comes a right. Rav Zika, Rav Lazar. Yeah, ab badam lekiddush. If you should do this sort of half and half, and then combine by dam, it's ineffective. Amrava, Tani nam Yehoch, you find the same in a brisa. And the brisa will analyze the pasuk, which reads like this: V'tav ala kohenes has boy badam, v'hizam and adam, sheva pamim, etc. From the word v'tava we learn v'lem misapa. You can't just wipe the side, the walls of the kli. You have to dip into the blood itself. Badam, right? The known blood, as we explained. Ad shehi badam bedam shir tefila meikare. It needed to have that full ounce initially as it was collected. And finally, the word min hadam tells you min hadam shebe'inyan, as we're going to see in a minute. Okay, the Rashi explains here. It means to say that you can't just spray and spray. You have to dip your finger in every time you want to spray. So it's one dip per spray. You got to dip it back in that dam, min hadam shebe'inyan, in that kli. Why does the pasuk have to stipulate all these things? Can't you just learn one from the? No, there's a need to have all three expressions for these halachas. Why do we need badam? Because of rachmana b'tavel. Had the Torah only said dip your finger, I would say as long as there's an ounce now, even if it wasn't there to begin with, if you mixed together two kalim, is okay. Because rachmana comes badam to tell you, no, this is the original ounce. Because rachmana badam, if only badam, I would say, you could wipe even on the sides off the wall. Because rachmana b'tavel, you got to dip into the blood. And finally, adam shebe'inyan tells you, what does that come to exclude? You can't use the leftovers in your finger. You dip, you spray, that leftover is not suitable. You have to dip again. This proves Rabbi Lezer's point. Rabbi Lezer, Shiraim Shabbat Psulin, you can't use the leftover, the remnants on your finger. Amalei Rabin Barav Ado L'Rava. Amri Talmidach, your Talmidim relate that Amar Rav Amram Ram used to say Tanina. We have a brisa which will pose a kasha, a contradiction to our point that leftovers, remnants on the finger are unsuitable. Hayamazeh. So he's spraying the blood of the chatas apnimis with his finger. Okay, and the water, the blood left his finger. Actually, if he hadn't yet done the hazah, and then the blood landed on a beged, ton kibbutz. Okay, so he's engaged in spraying, and by mistake, he shoots and he misses. It lands on a beged. So that beged needs kibbutz, because this blood is still active, carbon material. But after the hazah, now the remnants in his finger drips on a beged. Ain't ton kibbutz. Kibbutz is not needed. My love, let's assume hachigam the brisa means actually gomer la hazois ton kibbutz. Before he completed all 7 acts of hazah, so any blood remaining on his finger, it lands on a beged, ton kibbutz, needs to be rinsed, needs to be laundered. Kibbutz is applicable, even though it's remnants of a hazah, but it's still mid-process. But only once he's finished all 7, now he has some leftovers in his finger, lands on a beged, it's okay. So this indicates to us that even remnants Right, during the process of azah, even remnants are considered blood that's roi for carbon, and if it lands on a beged, kibbutz is required. Right, it goes hand in hand. Kibbutz is only applicable if it's dam roi for hazah. Apparently, even remnants, even blood residue left on his finger is okay for hazah. And you're telling me no, you have to redip every time. You can't use the remnants. Loi, that's not what the brisa meant. The brisa means like this. So he dipped his finger in the blood. This blood that's right now on his finger before he sprayed it, that's active material, ton kibbutz. It drips on a beged, kibbutz is applicable. No, but after it left his finger, the remnants left on his finger, ain't ton kibbutz, doesn't need kibbutz. Exactly as we had said, because it's possible for azah. Esvi Abai has another kash. You're telling me remnants on the finger are unsuitable? Gamar melahazes. Kan Gadol is on the Zevachim. He's finished the hazah of the paraduma. He was speaking about the akrova of the paraduma, which requires being mazah the blood towards the Beis Hamikdash 7 times. He's done. Mekanech yadai b'gavashal para. So he goes and cleanses. He wipes his hands on the body of the paraduma, because he meant to burn the entire everything. The para with its blood, everything together. Gamar in. That's only because he finished all 7 hazois. Then he wipes his hand. Loi gamar le, but otherwise, if you're still in the middle of the hazois, you don't wipe your hand. You don't wipe your finger, apparently. Because anything left over on his finger is still okay. Amar le, so Rabbi said, no. Of course it's not okay. Gamar mekanech yadav gavashal para. The brisa means like this. When he's complete the entire process. So he takes his whole hand, wipes it properly on the gufa para. Loi gamar. But if he's not yet done, he's still holding at 4, 5, 6. Certainly he has to wipe his finger, but not on the animal. He just wipes his finger to scrape off the remnants which are unsuitable, as we explained. So yeah, sure, when he's completely done, he wipes his hand on the parshanut-torah-comment, as we explained, and you burn everything with any blood that you can find that you know. Ella, it's boy baim kaneach. But you're telling me that even during the process, in between sprays, you got to wipe your finger to get rid of the remnants, which are unsuitable. What is he going to use to wipe his hands on? You can't use the para itself. Rashi says it's going to get stuck. The fibers, the thread, the hair. It's not, you know. Fast mizrak. Very simple. He just wipes it, scrapes it on the edge of the lip of the mizrak, of the container of the dam. And that's why it's called Kippurei Zahav, like Yom Kippurim, cleanses or wipes. That's why the containers were called Kippurei Zahav, because of the wiping that the Kohen Gadol would engage in between the hazahs. But certainly the leftover blood on his finger is unsuitable for hazah, as per Rabbi Elazar's halach. Okay, let's summarize. We spoke about dam chatas landing on a beged requires kibbutz, only if it's dam chatas, which is kosher. So according to Rabbi Shimon, if it's possible, in all cases it's not requiring kibbutz. According to Rabbi Kiva, only if it never had a moment in time of shasa kosher. It's based on how do you learn the psukim. Is it one limitation or two limitations? If it lands on a beged tameh, so it became unsuitable as it came into contact, that's an interesting shaila. Turns out to be machlekes tanaim. Again, it's only applicable to dam chatas, which is suitable for akrava, collected in a kli, properly collected. We have several stipulations on that. It needs to be the shiur, collected initially. The kohen has to dip his finger in the blood, and the remnants on his finger in between hazois must be scraped off on the edge of the mizrak, and that's why it's called Kippurei Zahav. Okay, perhaps we'll just leave the Mishnah for like the next daf. Should take us on to a new sugya regarding status of leather. Is leather something that could be laundered, could be washed? It pertains to the halachas of kibbutz, of dam chatas. It pertains to Shabbos as well. Okay, we'll see by Hashem. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rabbah.